The beginning of Chain of Memory shows us a very confident Sora. He's proven himself a junior hero by preventing Ansem, Maleficent, and the Heartless from destroying all the worlds. He's also restored many worlds that were swallowed by the darkness, including his own, where Kairi waits safe and sound for his and Riku's return. With seemingly no impending threats and his closest friends by his side, Sora is confident that even though they have no leads, he, Donald, and Goofy can find Riku and the King as long as they stay positive and stick together. Sora has so much confidence in himself and in his friends he doesn't even acknowledge the organization as a threat at first. Even though he knows he was led to Castle Oblivion for their plans, the possibility of finding Riku and Mickey outweighs a possible trap. And while Sora does get discouraged when his memories begin to disappear and he struggles to remember the name of a suddenly recollected old friend, his confidence remains, with a little help from Donald, Goofy, and Jiminy. Yes, he exists. Beyond this confidence, we don't see much of a difference in Sora until he remembers the name of a girl he used to know on the islands. Naminé. When Sora remembers Naminé, it's only after the memory was forced out of him by Larxene, who not only teased him about not remembering her, but revealed Naminé was in the castle waiting to be rescued, and threatened to smash the good luck charm that Naminé gave to Sora that he didn't know he had on his person for 9 years, apparently. And it's at this moment that we see Sora get truly angry. He hits the charm out of Larxene's hand, challenges and yells at her even after she disappears. And while Sora has been seen frustrated, he's never shown to be angry until this moment. An anger that consumes him so fully that he continued to attack where Larxene had disappeared, hoping she'd reappear so he could fight her again. And it's this anger that fuels Sora to continue through the rest of the castle, even though he and his friends could lose almost all of their memories and may not even find the King and Riku. And then Riku shows up on the next floor. Sora is obviously shocked. How did Riku get out of the Realm of Darkness? How did he get into Castle Oblivion? Instead of answering Sora's questions, Riku is extremely antagonistic, claiming that Sora forgot all about him in his efforts to find Naminé, and it seems he's going to make himself an obstacle for Sora as he puts Sora at fault for Naminé's disappearance and won't let him near her. After Riku is defeated in battle, he retreats further into the castle, leaving his best friend confused and sad. A moment rarely seen in most Kingdom Hearts games, Sora is saddened to see that his best friend, while out of the Realm of Darkness, is still influenced by the darkness or maybe under the control of someone else. He's sad that Riku doesn't want to help him rescue Naminé, but wants to fight him instead, and claiming that Sora never cared about him. Donald and Goofy are worried as well. Riku and Mickey work together, and Riku's alliance with darkness can mean that their king is in danger. But Sora doesn't respond to this worry, and barely rallies when given the possibility that he could help Riku remember that they're friends. Sora does cheer up, but this scene has two different versions with two different interpretations. The original scene has Sora cheering himself up at Donald's insistence that he should sound more confident. He proclaims that he'll save Riku, Mickey, and Naminé blindfolded, challenging all of his enemies and restoring his confidence in the process. And while this is in character for Sora post-Neverland, Riacom's version shows Sora slower to cheer up, and he doesn't actually cheer himself up. It's an interesting change that provides an interesting interpretation. While Sora agrees that Riku can't be helped by staying sad, it's a hesitant agreement. But why? Well, I see it as Sora realizing that even though he and Riku were reunited and worked together for a brief moment after Ansem's defeat, they didn't actually resolve anything. Their paths were different, which led them to clashing in methods to saving Kairi, differences in ideals of light and darkness, physical altercations, and most damaging, blatant betrayal. The nature of their friendship changed so drastically that things couldn't possibly be the same between them. Sora thought it could, but this new altercation with Riku made him doubt that thought. So even if he did help Riku remember their friendship, would it mean that he and Riku could be best friends again? Or had too much happened between them? I imagine that's what Sora was thinking about before Donald and Goofy reminded him of their promise to keep smiling, which Sora responds with a small smile that shows a solemn resolve, not a flashy declaration of victory. This version of the scene, I feel, gives Sora a more realistic and relatable portrayal. When Sora meets Riku on the next floor, he tries to reason with him. He reminds Riku that Kairi and everyone else they know on the islands are waiting for both of them to come home, but Riku won't listen. He refuses Sora's invitation for reconciliation and vows he'll never return to the islands because he has to protect Naminé. This puts a heavy decision on Sora. He can leave Riku behind or convince Riku to fight alongside him. Sora chooses the latter by getting through to Riku the same way they settle all their differences, by beating the shit out of each other! Yay! Joking aside, this is actually a very well thought out solution. These two have been competing with each other their whole lives, so sparring with Riku like old times should get through to him. Unfortunately, this doesn't work. Riku still doesn't remember and again runs off. This failed attempt causes Sora to pause and try to understand what's going on. He realizes that he and Riku have the same goal, and that fighting each other over that goal doesn't make any sense. The only explanation that Sora can think of is that maybe Riku just doesn't care about him, Kairi, or anyone anymore. This is a shocking conclusion for Sora to come to, considering how much faith he's had in Riku this whole time, and his whole life. And after the events of Kingdom Hearts 1, Sora wasn't going to give up on Riku, but the last 2 meetings caused Sora to consider the worst about him. It's a subtle thing that I feel speaks volumes about what Sora doesn't say, that also shows how much Sora is changing as he goes up the castle. But it's a short moment, as Sora is reminded that he can't give up. He, Riku, and Naminé were never apart when they were little, so they shouldn't remain apart now. Feels like someone is missing from that group. Nah. Floor 10. This is where it all really begins. Our Mary group has lost 10 whole floors worth of memories, and are no closer to helping Naminé, Riku, or finding King Mickey. Donald, Goofy, and Jiminy are concerned by these facts, and ask Sora if they should turn back before they lose everything. But Sora can't, as he's remembered a promise to Naminé. A promise so important to him that he's willing to drag his friends higher up the castle, causing them to lose more and more of their memories, just to keep it. And while Donald, Goofy, and Jiminy are completely understanding of the situation, Sora is the one who doesn't seem to understand just how much Castle Oblivion has affected all of his friends, not just him, Riku, and Naminé. He just wants to save Naminé, and in true Sora fashion, he can't be swayed once he has a goal. It's in character, but it's a darker connotation. With Floor 10's end, Sora meets a new organization member, Vexen, and he has a mission: to prove Sora useless to the organization and discover what Marluxia's plan is for Sora. To accomplish his goal, Vexen goads Sora into fighting by claiming he was the one who reunited Sora and Riku, but refusing to tell Sora where Riku went. Sora's reaction to this news is significant. He immediately blames Vexen for the way Riku's been acting. But why is this significant? Because even though Vexen is clearly an organization member, he never presented himself as a threat or a villain to Sora. Vexen did not say he was the one who had changed Riku as Sora claims, he merely said he brought him to Sora. Vexen only presents himself as a threat after Sora's accusation. He immediately assumes the worst about Vexen, which is not Sora. Let's put this into perspective. Sora knew about Maleficent and her actions over the past 9 years from the Final Fantasy crew, and they may have even described her appearance. But when he first saw her in Agrabah, he asked if she was Maleficent. He did not immediately assume the worst about her because Sora gives everyone a chance. And with Larxene, the crew was cautious but still made sure she was with the organization before making a move, but still did not make a move until Larxene made herself a threat. But with Vexen, Sora accused him with no proof. While Vexen was there to test him, Sora was the one to make the first antagonistic move. It's a significant change in a short amount of time. After the fight, Vexen lures Sora into Twilight Town to prove that Sora is at the mercy of a memory that he no longer controls. Donald, Goofy, and Jiminy are confused by the town, as it was one they had no recollection of visiting, and thus assume that it is a place that Sora visited but forgot about. They link this with Sora's returning memories of Naminé, and when they get to the mansion, Sora does state that the town does start to feel familiar, but he also insists that it's a feeling or an idea that he's been there before, not the same as he remembered Naminé. Vexen chimes in by reminding Sora that the card was made from memories from the other side of his heart, meaning that the memories do exist within Sora, but in a different place, or in someone else connected to him. Roxas. Therefore, it is Sora's heart that remembers. But then another question. If all memories come from the heart, then why does Sora separate the feeling of remembering Twilight Town from his memories of Naminé? Vexen poses that one set of memories is fake, implying that it's the memories of Naminé. Sora, unwilling to accept that his memories of an important friend are fake, responds with the idea that the feeling associated with Twilight Town is a fake, a trick of the organization. This is the proof that Vexen was looking for to prove Sora was useless. He's bound by the chain of memories in his heart and refuses to look at what else may be there. A Keyblade wielder who's a slave to potential fake memories will be of no use to the organization, and therefore has no use existing. An idea Vexen attributes to both Sora and his Riku. Hearing that Vexen had claimed Riku and said he was nothing, Sora explodes in anger. Like his outburst at Vexen and Larxene earlier, he assumes the absolute worst about his enemy. He yells and blames Vexen for everything that has gone wrong and will prove that Vexen will not stand in his way in continuing to be the hero, to save Riku and Naminé. And to further back up how this is so un-Sora, in Teal's Chain of Memories fan dub, which everyone should watch and share everywhere, Blue Serix's bloopers for these lines included him saying that Sora needed to calm down and that he couldn't imagine Sora saying this stuff. Vexen is surprised that Sora retains much of his strength even at the mercy of his memory. Knowing that he is beat, Vexen begins to tell Sora about Marluxia's plans, but then is annihilated by Axel, which, the recon version of this scene is so much better. It is so fucking rad. Like, just that snap. Goodbye. Anyway, Sora, a bit traumatized by watching Vexen literally fade out of existence at the hands of a quote-unquote comrade, leaves Twilight Town and comes face to face with Riku again. Sora's upset to learn that Riku is still facing him as an enemy, showing Sora that he was wrong about his theory of Vexen controlling Riku, although not entirely untrue. Riku finally gives Sora a reason for the animosity. He made a promise to Naminé to protect her, and she gave him her good luck charm as a thanks. And Sora apparently hurt Naminé, so Riku is protecting her from him, not the organization. What Sora did is not explained in-game, but the Chain of Memories novel gives one. Sora ripped up one of Naminé's drawings because he didn't like how she drew him. This bullying by Sora caused Naminé to leave the islands, and it cost Riku one of his closest friends. This promise that Riku made is the exact same memory Sora described in Twilight Town earlier, and they both seem to have Naminé's one-of-a-kind good luck charm she's had since she was a baby. This causes yet another fight, and another defeat for Riku. He drops Naminé's charm, and it turns into a world card for Destiny Islands. Donald and Goofy, understandably confused, try to figure out what is going on, but Sora wants to continue, claiming the details don't matter, but his friends don't agree. He and Riku cannot have the same memory when they weren't both there, and Donald points this out by saying that they can't both be right. Sora's response is another instance of him assuming the worst, this time with his own friends. He thinks that they don't believe him just because Riku said he had the same memory. Taking it even further, he accuses Donald and Goofy of wanting him to abandon Naminé when they suggest that he should slow down and try to make sense of the situation. This is when Donald and Goofy finally claim that Sora has changed. He only seems to care about finding Naminé, even though he didn't know her name before entering the castle. He doesn't appear interested in reasoning with Riku anymore, or listening to reason from his closest friends. He doesn't care about assessing the situation anymore, how it's affecting his friends, or about helping them find the king. And he assumes his friends are talking him out of finding Naminé instead of assuming that his friends are worried about him. Nothing is getting through to Sora, so he basically tells Donald and Goofy to fuck off and goes ahead alone. Well, not entirely, as Jiminy appears to be living in Sora's hood. Jiminy also tries to reason with Sora, but Sora tells him to shut up too. Now, I want to put what just happened into perspective. Sora, who was willing to bet his heart on his friends keeping him alive, who continued to see the good in Riku after he betrayed him, who decided to help Donald and Goofy find the king instead of going home with Kairi, just abandoned his two closest friends to find a girl he knew 10 years ago because he took their attempts for reasoning with him as them wanting him to abandon said girl. He wouldn't listen to anyone, not even the official Disney conscience that lives in his jacket, and plans to go through the rest of the castle alone. Sora has done a complete 180. He's not even Sora anymore. And this is the biggest proof against the claim that Sora's character hasn't changed or developed. Using Riku's card, Sora returns home to Destiny Islands, but his time at Castle Oblivion has taken its toll on his memory. He didn't even recognize anyone at first, not even Riku. But none of that matters because he's finally reunited with Naminé, the girl he fought through organization members and his own best friends for. The girl who was so important to him that he pushed away all his friends just to see her. He was so happy, but that had to be taken away too. Naminé reveals that they never actually knew each other, and that she wasn't the most important person to him. Sora denies it. He has memories of them. He has her good luck charm. He came all this way because she's that important. But his true memories kick in before he could forget the one person who really was the most special to him, Kairi. He can't remember her name, or really anything about her, but he knows that Naminé was right. When Sora tries to get answers from Naminé, Riku intervenes, and after a dirty trick, incapacitates Sora. Riku is about to finish him off, but Naminé stops him, shattering the chain of memories in his heart. Seeing his best friend collapse on the floor, Sora turns on Naminé, assuming the worst of her, that she was the cause. Granted, she did yell at Riku to stop, and he did, but Sora spent this whole time looking for Naminé, and immediately turned on her when she did something he didn't like. He's now officially turned on every one of his friends. Larxene then shows up to explain that all of Sora and Riku's memories of Naminé are fake, and Riku is also a fake, a replica made by Vexen. She and Marluxia were using Naminé's powers to turn Sora into their puppet, and with everything now undone by Axel letting Naminé go, Larxene has come to eliminate Sora. Naminé tries to shield Sora even though she's the cause of his current state, but is knocked aside by Larxene. Sora is upset at Naminé getting hurt, which Larxene points out as odd since they don't actually know each other. Even though Sora understands that, he still considers the promise he made to protect Naminé to be real, and one he'll keep. This is one of the most heartwarming scenes to me, as it shows that deep down, no matter how much she's changed, Sora's loyalty and faith in his friends is still inside him. And that faith is rewarded like it was in Hollow Bastion, as Donald and Goofy finally catch up with Sora and stand by his side. Together they beat Larxene. All for one and one for all, right? Afterwards, Naminé explains that Marluxia threatened to keep Naminé locked away if she didn't rewrite Sora's memories, but once he's defeated, she can fix everything. But Naminé realizes her being lonely was a weak reason for her tampering with their memories, and she doesn't expect forgiveness. But Sora tries to cheer her up, much to her surprise. He's not happy about his memories being messed with, but he says that his new ones still feel right, and so he'll continue to keep his promise to protect Naminé, even if it wasn't real. But he does make her a real promise before going, that he'll be okay when he faces Marluxia. Now accepting that his memories are fake, Sora tries to remember who it was that was the most special to him. When his memory fails him, he asks Donald and Goofy for help, but they can't. In the manga, they state that they don't even remember who they were looking for in the castle. It's unclear if they remember the king in the game at this point. They can't seem to remember anything, but find the courage to continue on in their promise to always remain friends. But guess who aren't friends? Axel and Marluxia. Axel's mission to eliminate the traitors of the organization puts him in conflict with Marluxia, who is going to use Sora to take it under his control. Axel will even go through Naminé to complete his mission, which Marluxia uses to his advantage to pit Axel and Sora against each other. Axel teases Sora about doing Marluxia's bidding, but Sora counters by saying he'll take them both out. He's nobody's puppet. With Axel's defeat, Sora finally faces Marluxia, who still sees a way to use Sora as his puppet. He orders Naminé to erase Sora's memory, destroying his heart in the process and allowing him to be reborn as Marluxia's perfect puppet. Sora still wants to keep Naminé safe, so he tells her to do it, even with the costs. He believes that his friends can help him rebuild his memory, and that faith in his friends rewards him yet again with the appearance of the Riku replica, who will also keep his phantom promise to Naminé. And Sora gives him that opportunity by asking Repliku to protect Naminé as he goes to face Marluxia. After Marluxia is defeated, Repliku goes off to find answers about his existence. Sora offers his view, that what Repliku feels and remembers are a part of his own unique heart. Even though Sora knows this Riku is a replica, he still considers him his own person, an opinion he only shows to a few other organization members until 3D. With that, Sora is presented with his choice. Retrieve his old memories, but lose his memories of Castle Oblivion and Naminé, or keep his new memories, giving up the old ones. This is a tough decision for Sora because he knows how much Naminé wanted to be his friend, and how much effort she put into making them friends. Even though they weren't actually friends in his memories, Sora still considers Naminé as someone important to him. But there's something else I think Sora considered when he made his choice. What kind of person he wanted to be. Sora's answer isn't, please return my memories, it's, put me back the way I was. Sora had to decide if he wanted to be who he was before Castle Oblivion, or after. After all, he went through a pretty dramatic personality shift. This game shows that changing someone's memories changes who they are as a person, and it changes what's in their heart. And Sora had to consider which him he wanted. The caring, considerate, and loyal all-around person that he was before Castle Oblivion, or the angry, obsessed, but still caring person who once abandoned everyone that he'd become in this castle. It was so much more than just memories at stake for Sora, and in the end he wanted to be the person he was, even if it meant giving up Naminé. Naminé takes this as her not being truly important to Sora, but he wanted her to know that he'd look for her when he'd wake up. With the knowledge that the memories of Castle Oblivion will remain in his heart, he was confident that he'd eventually remember his promise to Naminé and thank her for restoring his memories.